Unfortunately, England have just recently been knocked out of the tournament, but nevertheless, I think it's still going to be useful to learn some vocabulary. For those of you that are newcomers to football, or those of you that have heard a lot of English vocabulary to do with football, but you don't quite understand what they mean. So let's start with the basics. So, the ball. The ball is absolutely necessary to play a game of football. In fact, it's probably the only thing that's absolutely necessary. I remember at school, we would regularly put jumpers on the ground to make goalposts, and then all that we would need at that point is a ball. In football, the ball is round. It's almost perfectly spherical, and I think it's made with a range of materials, but that's not really important. You just need to know that it's called a ball. In Spanish, it's called la pelota, as far as I'm aware. The other equipment that you may need is a goal, or otherwise called a net. So the goal is constructed with two goalposts, which are the vertical columns at either side of the goal, and then you have the crossbar, which links them both in a kind of arch. As I said, it's also called a net, and one term that you may hear quite often is if someone scores, the commentator may say he's put the ball in the back of the net, meaning he's scored a goal. It's in the back of the net. It's not round the back of the net, because that would be a miss. A miss is where you shoot, but the ball isn't going towards the goal. You miss the goal effectively, as opposed to a save where the ball is on target, but the goalkeeper, who is the player in the goal, saves the shot. If you're not the goalkeeper, you're playing outfield, and for the people that are playing outfield, it's actually a foul to touch the ball with your hand, and the foul is called handball. So you may hear people shouting, "That's a handball, that's a handball," and that means it's a foul. Unless it's ball to hand. And ball to hand is an occasion where the ball does touch someone's hand, who's not a goalkeeper, but it's not necessarily a foul because it was unintentional and it didn't affect the future of the game, or the immediate future of the game. The immediate future is what happened immediately after the supposed foul. A foul, by the way, is when someone breaks one of the laws of the game, or one of the rules of the game, and then the opposition is awarded a free kick or some kind of benefit because of the foul of that team. In British English, there are a couple of terms we use which mean to hit the ball very hard. One of them is hoof. So to hoof, that's a verb. To hoof the ball means to hit the ball very hard, but usually up in the air, kind of as far as you can send it, really. As far as you can kick it, as a kind of clearance to avoid the danger of an opposition attack. The other one is to boot it. Now, to boot it is a phrasal verb, and again, that just means to hit the ball as hard as you can, but boot it, it could mean to shoot as well. So you could boot it towards goal, but that's not so common. It usually refers to a clearance scenario. And there's one other term as well. So this is a verb too, and it's to dive. Certain players do this a lot, namely Neymar, and it basically means that if they think that they've been fouled, or if they have indeed been fouled, to make it obvious to the referee that they need to be awarded a penalty or a free kick or something like that, they exaggerate whatever inconvenience or pain the opposition player may have caused them in the process of fouling them. There's another good term in football, which is to be in his or her pocket. If a defender has someone in their pocket, or if any player has someone in their pocket, it means that they are in charge of the situation between the two of them. So for example, one of the best defenders in the world right now is a man named Virgil van Dijk. And let's say, for example, that if Argentina and the Netherlands play again, and Virgil van Dijk's pretty much sole responsibility is to make sure that Messi doesn't have the freedom to affect the game, and he does this successfully, that means that Messi is in Van Dijk's pocket, or Van Dijk has Messi in his pocket. That second form is probably more common. You're probably more likely to hear that second form. Another common one is man on. Man on simply means that if you've just received the ball, if someone shouts man on at you and you've just received the ball, that means that there's an opposition player near you that you can't see, perhaps. Maybe you can see him, but the important thing is that there's an opposition player near you, so you need to have a bit more urgency about your play. And then the other thing is clinical finishing. Now, clinical finishing, that's an easy one to explain. That just means that you're scoring the majority of the chances that you get. Erling Haaland is a very obvious example of this, because he is able to score basically every chance that he gets. or maybe 9 times out of 10 he scores whenever he shoots. So you could describe him as a clinical finisher. Thank you for listening today, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on future videos. See you soon.